I'm going to place my final tile and thereby triggering the end of the game and score 10 bonus victory points because it's completely surrounded by all these other bonus tiles. Tile laying board games are some of my favourite types of board games to play. It is visually impressive to see how the tiles you lay out throughout a game connect together, network and grow. Tile laying board games are visually engaging and usually involves players placing out odd-shaped tile pieces out onto a board or playing surface. In this video we look at my top 5 favourite tile laying strategy board games for those people looking for something a little bit deeper.
Number 5.
Castles of Mad King Ludwig is a tile placement game where players take the role of royal architects as they compete with each other to build the most exquisite and elaborate castle possible. Through buying room tiles from a market designated by one player who acts as the master builder for the round, players will purchase and place room tiles in their castle, hoping to fulfill contracts, tile placement requirements, and ultimately to please King Ludwig himself.
Across each round, one player takes on the role of the Master Builder, a powerful role where the player who plays it gets to rearrange the order of the room tiles on the contract board and set the prices that each room will cost to buy across that particular round. This means if another player needs a living room tile, the Master could make it extremely expensive for them. This ability to price set influences how players decide to purchase and place tiles throughout the game. Each player can choose to purchase a room, and if they do, the money goes to the Master Builder, helping that player to become wealthier. When placing a room tile, each room has its own distinct shape and placement restrictions, so players will need to be aware of how room tiles interact and fit together. Players will ideally become room designers and set out a floor plan that best suits the need of the king. For example, a sleeping room should never be built next to an activity room. I mean, a king needs his sleep, even if he is mad. Building a room scores victory points, indicated by the number in the top left corner, and connecting all of the entrances to a particular room provides players with an extra bonus action, depending on the room type. For example, an outdoor room will gain a player an extra $10,000 to spend, and completing all the entrances to an activity room will gain a player 5 extra victory points.
Absolutely adore Castles of Mad King Ludwig because of the uniqueness of the tiles that are placed out in the game. The different room shapes and how they fit together and connect together really gives you that sense that you're building the floor plan to a castle. I like how completing a room and sealing off all the entrances to a particular room triggers a particular room bonus, and each of the different types of rooms has a different bonus, which allows you to vie for a particular scoring strategy, and there are lots of different avenues for winning in this game. I like the role of the Master Builder, which allows them to allocate room prices, which really generates this fascinating dynamic of how much tiles should cost and how the other players respond to the price setting of each of the tiles. And knowing what other players need or what they're vying for and setting those tiles at the more expensive end of the spectrum can really cause some interesting player reactions.
Number 4.
Over here, I'll take the game, thank you very much. In Takenoko, players will be helping the Japanese emperor to cultivate a beautiful garden for a giant panda, a gift given as a symbol of peace from the Chinese emperor. Players will be cultivating land plots, irrigating them, growing bamboo with the aim of trying to fulfill the emperor's objectives and goals. The player who does this the most effectively will win the game.
Across the game, players will be building a shared garden. Players will roll the weather die on their turn to determine any bonus action effects that they can use, including adding free bamboo, repeating an action, or even moving the panda around the garden and have it eat some bamboo. Nom 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 nom. On a player's turn, one of the actions that a player can take is to draw 3 plot cards and place one out into the garden. There are 3 different coloured plot tiles, each growing its own species, yellow, green and pink, which grows respectively on their corresponding tile. Players can also choose to irrigate plots by building irrigation channels leading from the main pond, or using an improvement chip. Players can also move the gardener to grow bamboo, or choose to move the panda to eat bamboo. To improve the efficiency of the actions that players take, players can place certain improvement chips over certain tiles. For example, the fertilizer chip allows a player to grow 2 bamboo instead of 1 when the farmer lands on that particular tile. All of these actions helps players to fulfill the 3 different objective types outlined on the cards, allowing players to score victory points and trigger the end of the game.
What I really adore about Takenoko is it takes the tile placing element and elevates it to a 3D level. Players are actually building a 3D bamboo garden, and at the end of the game when you step back and look at the table, it is really beautiful and impressive. I also like the fact that each player has different scoring objectives and goals, and the different types of objectives that they can vie for is up to the player themselves, and having more objective cards in your hands means that you've got more chances and opportunities to try and satisfy those objectives before the other players. I also like the fact that if you've got a best laid out plan, it can be easily disrupted by other players. So you might want a panda to eat a particular colored bamboo on one tile, but then another player may move the panda on their turn somewhere else, making you kind of force yourself to kind of adapt to the changing game state. An important strategy is to try and complete those irrigating plot tile objectives at the beginning of the game, and as the game progresses, try and complete those panda bamboo eating objectives from the mid to late game, thereby putting you in a very successful stance for winning the game.
Number 3.
Azul Summer Pavilion is an abstract tile-laying game where players have been enlisted by the king himself to build a glorious summer pavilion to honour the royal family. Through adopting the role of martyr artisans, players will draft coloured tiles and place them in coloured star-shaped patterns to score bonuses and victory points. The player who rises to the challenge the best and becomes the master tiler scores the most victory points and wins the game.
Across a game of Azul Summer Pavilion, players will be drafting tiles by taking one of the tiles of one colour off any of these round factory discs, or they can take all the tiles of one colour from the central area. Over each of the 6 rounds in the game, one coloured tile will be deemed the wild tile, and this changes from round to round. If a player takes from a factory disc or central area, they take only one copy of the wild tile in addition to the other colours that they chose. Once players have drafted all the tiles, they will then take it in turn order to place their collected tiles onto their player boards. Their aim is to fill up the coloured flowers as efficiently as possible. To place a tile, players need to spend a number of same coloured tiles equal to the number on the board. Players may use wild tiles to help them pay this cost. Players will want to place tiles next to each other to score additive victory points. The central flower can be completed using one colour of each tile colour. If players surround one of these 3 icons, players can also pick 1 to 3 tiles from this drafting wheel. At the end of the game, the final endgame scoring occurs, and the player with the greatest number of victory points will win the game.
The original Spiel des Jahres award-winning board game Azul was one of my favourite games to introduce to new gamers. Azul Summer Pavilion is the 3rd game in the Azul series, and boy, it is impressive. I love the deep, rich decision making that this game offers to players, and people who've played the original game, this game takes it to another level, and it is such an enjoyable one that I think this probably has risen to the top in terms of being the best out of the 3 Azul games that I've played. I really love the pattern building element of this game, and there are 6 different coloured stars that you can try and complete, and each coloured star has their own victory point value which you score at the end of the game if you complete it. I also like the combos that you can score by placing tiles next to each other and gaining an adjacency effect, so it's got this really additive value effect. So trying to complete a star by placing the tiles next to each other means that you're going to score more points over the long term throughout the game. I love the introduction of the wild tiles, which help you to pay for the more expensive spaces on those star spaces, as well as introducing an element of forward planning. So if the red one's going to be the wild tile in the next round, how should I best collect those red tiles and maybe save them for later? So that introduces this element of long-term goal planning, which I think is a beautiful addition to the game. I also like the fact that you can surround these little icons on the actual game itself to score bonus tiles, and there's this introduction of this sub-drafting tile element on this separate board, which allows you to gain additional tiles which you then can save or use to try and complete more stars.
Number 2.
In Isle of Skye, players control different clans competing for dominance over Skye through developing their clan's territories, trading, and scoring commodities. To achieve this, players need to purchase tiles from the other players who have set the prices for the tiles at their desired level. Through the commercial exchange of land tiles, players can expand their clans. The player who does this the most effectively will win the game.
Across a game of Isle of Skye, players will be acting as entrepreneurs as well as cartographers. Over each round, players will be drawing 3 tiles from a bag and placing the 3 tiles in front of their screen so the other players can see them. They'll then behind their screen allocate at least 1 coin to 2 of their tiles and a discard marker behind the other. The money that players place represents the cost that the other players will have to pay in order to purchase that tile from them. The tile with the axe will be discarded. Once screens are revealed, in turn order, players have a chance to buy a tile from another player, paying the amount of money to the owning player. If there are any tiles remaining at the end of the round, the owner of the tiles lose all the money that they placed on it as it goes to the bank. All tiles acquired throughout the round are then placed out onto each player's map. Each player is ultimately trying to fulfill the round objectives as marked and indicated on these scoring tiles. They are also trying to build an efficient road to gain their castle income. Some of the goals that players are vying for include gaining victory points for having certain animal types in their map, completing certain landscapes, or gaining points for territories containing a ship or lighthouse. The player with the greatest number of victory points wins the game. I find Isle of Skye absolutely engaging. I love how the pricing mechanic is linked to the placement of the tiles that players have out in front of them. The fact that players set the prices to their tiles behind their screen and pick one to discard is truly interesting, because when players reveal them, players are then going to go shopping and shop for tiles that they'll actually need to put out onto their map. I also like the fact that the money that players pay goes directly to the owner of those tiles. So you kind of want to think carefully about where you spend your money, because you could potentially be giving a whole lot of cash over to the player who's currently in the lead. I also like the fact that, if you can't sell your tiles because they're either too priced or you've underestimated their worth, then that money that you've invested there goes straight to the bank and you end up being out of pocket. So being able to gauge what other players need and adapting the economic level and price levels to what other players need is a huge element of this game. It's a huge risk versus reward element, which makes this so much fun. Can I help you there, sir? I'm looking for some board games that I can tile my bathroom wall with.
Number 1.
Suburbia is a city building tile laying game of hexagonal proportions. In this game, players work industriously to place residential, commercial, and industrial hex tiles in order to develop an economic engine and boost population growth. Through efficient town planning and management, the player who develops their metropolis the best will win the game.
Across a game of Suburbia, players will be drafting, acquiring, and purchasing tiles from an ever-sliding property market track. Players will pay for the cost of the individual tile as well as the additional price listed above it. Players will then start placing their suburban hex tiles into their boroughs with the aim of increasing their population, a representation of a city's happiness, and increasing income to help their city grow. Placing green residential tiles usually helps players with population growth. Commercial tiles help your city to gain income, whilst industry tiles can hinder or help in both areas. The placement and positioning of your hex tile in your borough is crucial. Placing residential tiles near landfill or an airport will decrease your overall income, whilst a hotel will gain you population based on the number of residential tiles in all other players' boroughs. When placing a tile, players may wish to use it as a lake instead by flipping the tile over, gaining the player an immediate influx of money. Using an investment marker allows players to trigger the effect of a previously placed tile for a second time. The player who builds the city with the greatest synergy and meets the public and private objectives will be declared the winner of the game.
If you're thinking about getting Suburbia, try not to judge this game by its artwork, and I know there is a collector's edition out there with an upgraded level of artwork including all the expansions that the game has released, because beneath this construction site is a complex network of triggers and cool, interesting tile interactions. I mean, in this game you can build a borough that focuses on industry, or a restaurant chain of hexes that increases your income, or you can even establish a village or a suburb which is a paradise for your citizens. In this game makes those things possible. I really like the synergy between the tiles, where the interaction of the adjacency effects between tiles placed is really strong. There's a strong sense of economy, and the fact that some tiles interact with other players' boroughs means that there's cross-interaction as well in those regards. Players can use investment markers to re-trigger the effects of a particular tile that's already been placed before, meaning that you can build cool economic combos. I also love the tile drafting element of the different costs of the tiles, and as players draft tiles on their turn, the cost of those tiles reduces, meaning that they're becoming more of an incentive for players to collect and place out in their cities. Thank you once again for joining me for another Board Game Sanctuary video. I hope the list of deeper tile laying strategy board games will help make your next board game purchase that little bit easier. If you really like this video, please remember to lay some tiles down and hit the like, subscribe and share button. I would really and well and truly appreciate it. I want to say a huge shout out and thank you to all the people who currently subscribe to me and my channel. This is Danny signing out. I'll see you guys again soon. Enjoy your next board game and I look forward to bringing you some high quality videos in the future. Goodbye!